Good morning. Welcome to the Land Use and Livability Subcommittee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. So our first item is call to the public, and Jerry Van Gass. Welcome, Jerry. Jerry's a fixture, you guys, when it comes to parks and preserves.
Good morning. Jerry Van Gass, 4610 East Via Estrella. I'm glad to see this committee still exists. You know, for 6 months, there has not been a meeting. And, you know, and all new faces, you know, so welcome. This is, probably my favorite department, and part of the living in the city are the open spaces and the parks. And we're getting ready a week from this Friday to dedicate the major renovation portion of Piestewa Peak, which is, if people haven't been there in the last year, they're going to be stunned. And we're continuing on up the hill to finish up the last two ramadas, which is going to be incredible, since it is the most climbed peak in the country, which leads me to our next big project that we thought would be moving by now, but we haven't really seen any action in a year. Feasibility study was done to make an access trail at Camelback Mountain from the east side, Phoenician, at the Choya Trailhead. And this feasibility study was done a year ago, and a preferred alternative was put out there. And since the people are going to be paying for this project through Parks and Preserve Initiative money, we'd like to see the plans. We haven't seen them yet. The cost really isn't an issue because the money is there. But the people are, they're a little baffled why they have not heard anything in a year, basically. So we'd like to get that moving, and I'd like to see it on the agenda in the next month. So with that, welcome to the committee, and we'll be seeing you.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, our next order of business is the minutes of the last meeting, which was technically called the Parks, Arts, Library, and Education Subcommittee. Can I have a motion?
If none of us were on it, can we make a motion?
That's a good question. None of us were on it. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. We did check with our city attorney, Chris Meyer, and he said, yes, you can approve the minutes. So can I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. So the next item is our consent agenda, and we have two items, number 2 and item number 3. We do have 2 cards they wish not to speak, but they're in support of item 2. Can I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. We also have information items 4 and 5. They are just for information. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Oh, yes.
Change my mind.
Okay.
On Head Start, where they have to have the medical exams in the beginning, who pays for that? Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm Patricia Kirkland. I'm a program coordinator, filling in for Amy Corvo and Marshall Franklin this morning. And I'm sorry, can you ask me your question again?
Who pays for the required medical exams?
The parents. So most of our families have some type of access insurance. There are also facilities that are able to provide free medical examinations, and so we have parents go to those facilities, like Mountain Park, for example, if they don't have insurance. Some of our families do have insurance, and well child visits are covered. If there's a family that has a financial situation where they're not able to pay for that, then we help them with that. But we do not pay for that out of our grant funds.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And now we'll move to item 6, and this is unsolicited development proposal for city-owned property located at 1515 East Indian School. We're joined by Spencer and Chris. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. It's an honor to be here with you today as the sole agendized presentation for the inaugural Land Use and Livability Subcommittee. As you know, my name is Spencer Self. I'm the director of our Neighborhood Services Department, and I'm joined today by Chris Mackey, the director of our Community and Economic Development Department. And today, we're here to provide information on an unsolicited development proposal, or UDP, received for city-owned property located at 1515 East Indian School. Now, I'll note that on the map that you see in front of you, the pin is dropped on the charter school, which is actually next door to the parcel that we're talking about today, which is in red. As you can see, the site is located on Indian School Road, just west of 16th Street, and very close to the Longview Neighborhood Recreational Center, which is on the far left in this image. We're ultimately seeking subcommittee recommendation to deny moving forward with an RFP for this parcel. And in this presentation, we'll provide an overview of the history of the property and the basis for staff's proposed recommendation. But before that, I'd like to turn it over to Christine to provide a brief summary of the unsolicited development proposal, or UDP, process, as this is one of the first to make it to this point.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, in December of 2017, the City Council did authorize an unsolicited development proposal policy. What that policy in essence states is that the council recognized that the city staff has a certain amount of bandwidth to take out projects for request for proposal, and that we had a number of properties around the city that the development community and others might have interest in that weren't necessarily those that we had ready for direct disposal. So the council contemplated a mechanism by which the private sector could identify a city-owned property and submit a proposal to the city for acquisition of that property. At that time, they would submit $7,500 with their proposal. The city staff would do all of our research on the property, find out the appraised value of the property, all of the information that City Council would need to be able to look at a decision. Once staff had a recommendation, we would come before the subcommittee to give you our recommendation, and then it goes to the full City Council. What the City Council would contemplate is whether we should compete that property publicly. So just because you've submitted on a property doesn't mean you automatically get that property. It then would go through a process by which it's posted on our website, it's noticed for action, and all proposals could be submitted on the property. So again, it's important, an unsolicited development proposal is not a response to an RFP that the City Council initiates, but is instead to a property that the city does own that someone's interested in doing something different with. It is an opportunity, as we talked about, to dispose of excess city land that isn't intended for some type of other use or isn't intended as getting a city the seat at the table in future development. And it does provide for significant community input. So we receive the proposal, staff vets it, we bring it to subcommittee and council in those two formal meetings. Should council choose to compete it, it is competed on our website. We send out notifications to everyone that we have in our RFP list. We bring in all submittals. We go through our process with a panel should we get more than one. Then we go out to the community and we ask the community's input on everything that's there. We then would come back to council with that proposal.
Thank you, Christine. As previously mentioned, the site is located at 1515 East Indian School Road in the Longview Neighborhood Initiative Area and Redevelopment Area in Council District 4. In 1989, the city acquired the site with community development block grant funds under a disposition and development agreement that included 2 lots, including the charter school that's next door. So one developer owned and one the city would own. The 2-lot site acquisition resulted in improvements of the developer-owned lot, which included educational and commercial offices, and the city-owned site became a parking lot, which was leased to the developer. The lease expired in May of 2010, and the lessees did not exercise the option to acquire that property. And this parcel returned back to the city's inventory. In 2015, the court-appointed receiver sold the office building next door to CSD CPC Self-Development LLC, I know. A wholly owned subsidiary of the Charter School Development Corp., which operates the site. In July of 2018, the city received this UDP for the subject property at a proposed purchase price well below the appraised value. The UDP was deemed responsive and included the required non-refundable review fee of $7,500. The proposal was submitted by CSD CPC Self-Development LLC, the current owner of the building adjacent to the subject property, as we discussed. There's no lease agreement for the development or development agreement in place with the new ownership for the use of that parking lot. The UDP sought to utilize the property as is, as a parking lot, so for additional parking for parents and staff, and a second recreational area. After determining the proposal did meet the UDP requirements, staff ordered an appraisal. The appraisal was completed in December and recertified in June for a value of $672,000. Additionally, we held 2 neighborhood meetings in the spring at the Longview Neighborhood Recreation Center to inform the community of CSD CPC's proposal, as well as to answer any questions. Residents and businesses located within the Longview Neighborhood Initiative area were invited to attend, and we heard comments such as an interest in development that increased area property values, that provided an appropriate financial return to the city, that reduced blight in the area, and that maintained the character of the area as well. Additionally, we reached out to our Community and Economic Development Department to provide a little more information that the council may want to consider before deciding whether or not to issue an RFP for this property, and Christine will cover that.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, as you know, Phoenix is hot right now. We are seeing tremendous job growth, tremendous development growth, and nowhere is more hot than the central city in seeing true revitalization of some of our more challenged areas. This Indian School corridor is seeing strong revitalization. At your last meeting of your 2017 or your 2018-19 agenda, you approved the pivotal project at Central and Indian School at approximately 2 million square feet. We've seen the growth of the data centers at 3rd Street and Indian School. We've seen significant high-density residential move into the area, taking some of our more challenged properties and turning them into other uses. We've seen retail redevelopment, as you see in the bottom left corner, which is something we don't see a lot of these days. We've seen that revitalization happen at both 32nd Street and Indian School and 28th Street and Indian School, bringing those retail users into the neighborhood that the community was asking for. We've also seen significant investment on the Grand Canalscape to connect all of the central city for our families to walk and to bike and to move along. So as we look at this property from an economic development standpoint, although we don't have a different type of user today, as you saw from the aerials, it's immediately adjacent to the Grand Canalscape. And in the future, as we look at community development, we really believe that a use that would be well suited into the community, that might be a place where someone can pop off with their children and have a cup of coffee or an ice cream or a sandwich or something that truly gathers the community. And while we don't have a use for the property today, are perfectly happy to have it remain a parking lot as a temporary use, I do think in the long term, it's more viable as a redevelopment opportunity for something that the neighborhood would enjoy.
And with that, we request subcommittee recommend City Council deny the unsolicited development proposal for this property at 1515 East Indian School Road. And we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
So we do have a speaker. Why don't we let the speaker go first? Laura Beeman? Okay. Come up to the microphone. Yeah. Thank you. Welcome.
Packed house for kind of a small thing, but I'm Laura Feeman with CSDCPC Self-Development LLC, a wholly owned subsidiary of Charter Schools Development Corporation. I had to practice that one in the car. We are a national nonprofit. We've been around for 24 years now, serving school choice and charter schools throughout the country. We're about a $185 million organization. We've served about 300 schools since inception. We purchased this property in 2015, I believe. I think that's right. Yeah, 2015, out of bankruptcy. So this was formerly DeVry, High Tech High, Pima Medical had gone through a whole bunch of succession and purchased that property at that time out of bankruptcy. At that time, even the bankruptcy court did not know that that parking lot did not attach to this parcel. It was only when we actually got the title work that everyone realized that the city owned that adjacent parcel. So in early 2018, in a meeting with, I believe it was the neighborhood folks, there was conversation about some parents and teachers using your parking lot inappropriately, parking there. And so we had a meeting about that. At that time, it was brought to our attention, this unsolicited offer process. And we were told that this was a process to provide the city with not being in the real estate business any longer. It was pretty clear in the city council policy from December of 2017 that the city did not want to be in the business of real estate. So we were encouraged to submit this UDP, UDP for the parcel. We went through that process. We paid the fees. That was in July of last year, and here we are about 16 months later, finally having a meaningful conversation about the parcel. Our offer was $225,000. I don't think that was brought up here. It was $225,000. Yeah, $225,000. And that was based on the appraisal we received when we purchased the property. We bifurcated the land values at that time. The parcel is just under an acre and has challenging access. We'll just kind of put it at that. We feel that possibly the appraisal that you received for $672,000 looked at, maybe didn't look at the access and the actual ability to develop that parcel. Let's see, we were the only ones who have offered on this. I attended personally both of the neighborhood meetings. One of the items that was of frustration to us was that at those meetings, the neighborhood was not allowed to know what the price was, wasn't allowed to know what we had offered to do with the parcel. So there was a lot of confusion with the neighbors. Some of the neighbors said, I don't want a bar, I don't want this, I don't want this. Some others said, I want a coffee shop, or so on and so forth. And staff, unfortunately, was not allowed to share what we feel is a perfectly aligned community use with the parcel, which is to extend the opportunities and some recreation activity on the parcel for the over 400 students that attend the school and the families that are supported by self-development. Self-development is a network of schools with 4 locations right now serving over 1,000 children in the valley. At this particular site, 87% of the children qualify for free and reduced lunch. So these are families that need city services and support for their families. Let's see. Really beyond that, we respect the staff's position on this, but we also feel that one of the items that the neighborhood had complained about and has been a complaint, mostly going up to the school's front door, knocking on the door and saying there's trash, there's overgrown weeds, so on and so forth. The property tends to, on occasion, get a little blighted. And we have to respectfully tell them that we don't own that, and that belongs to the city. So clearly, with our acquisition, there would be an immediate turnaround for that. It would be properly maintained, it wouldn't change the nature of the neighborhood. It's a parking lot now. That was our proposal, was to keep it as a parking lot, adding a small playground area in the back to additionally support the families. I know I've gone well over my 2 minutes, so I think that was all I wanted to say in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Since this is the only item, I figured you could go over 2 minutes. Are there any questions?
There's an ability to continue to figure out a lease or some sort of process in which the school could still use it while we figure out what happens?
Absolutely. If it's the direction of the city council, we absolutely could do an RFP to enter into, let's say, a year-to-year lease opportunity to use it as is.
Thank you. I have a comment. I tend to agree with you, Chris. I think there's a lot happening on Indian School. It was further east, but it's coming towards the downtown area. And this really is a parcel that's ripe for potential redevelopment, something that might actually generate some tax revenue for the city, which of course we depend on sales tax, but we also depend on property tax. So I tend to agree that we should probably deny it, but I would like to pursue the idea of a lease. I think that's an excellent idea.
Madam Chair, if I might, to Councilman Garcia's point, the reason that Mr. Self had said we'd need to do an RFP, by state law, if there is a redevelopment area in place in any city, the city must compete its property competitively. We can't just direct negotiate. So it seems like we should just be able to say, they're the ones using the parking lot today, they're immediately adjacent, they're the only user that could use the parking lot. Unfortunately, we're hamstrung by state statute that says if there's a redevelopment area in place, we'd have to compete it. So we can work very creatively with our procurement options to be able to accommodate for the parking to remain on that site and to allow, should that be the direction of the council, to allow for them to continue using that as a parking lot. But just wanted to clarify why we would have to do an RFP instead of direct negotiate.
Are there any comments or questions? Councilwoman?
Chris, if you were going to do a lease there, would you require, or would we be committed to maintaining, keeping it clean, and I would imagine making sure it's well lit?
Madam Chair, Councilwoman Williams, yes, so if we are the landlord with a lease and there's a revenue stream coming in, we would and should maintain our properties in good order to make sure that we don't cause challenges for the surrounding community with weeds or with trash. But on top of that, we should, as the landlord with a revenue stream coming in, ensure that it's well lit so that it's safe at night and doesn't allow for nefarious activities. There are creative ways that we can do that, whether it's a reduction in a land lease to allow them to make changes to the property so that, or enhancements in lighting or landscaping so that we reduce their lease value or something. There are creative ways that we can come to that solution.
Would that impact the value of the land?
Madam Chair, Councilwoman Williams, it would, in my opinion, make the land more valuable if it is better lighting and better landscaping. And as the appraiser looked at the property, we're seeing in the central city values increase just because there's not as much property as there used to be, and that law of supply and demand is really coming into play. But by lighting it, it could make it more valuable, and we could still accommodate for that to make sure that we don't cause challenges to the lessor in enhancing our property.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I just follow up on the appraisal? Why was ours so much higher than the school appraisal? Was that, did you look at the zoning or the general plan?
Sure. The zoning for this property is C2, and given the size of the parcel and its location right off of Indian School Road, it appraised high for us, but we do think it's a fair value. And it again was recertified twice. It was certified once in December and then recertified in June.
Madam Chair, also as we do a significant number of appraisals in the downtown market, in the subcommittee, in the central city, it's not out of line with what we're seeing other properties in the surrounding area valued at. It didn't jump out at me as to say, oh my goodness, that's out of line. It seemed pretty close to being in line with what we do see.
Thank you. Are any other questions, Councilman?
Not necessarily suggesting it here, but I'm trying to understand the UDP process. Is when they turn it in, is that like a final thing, or is there still an ability to negotiate in case the assessment came out different than the original, what they submitted?
Gretchen Wolf, who's our procurement officer, who handled the unsolicited development proposal process, speaks very well to this. I'll just ask her to join us and answer that question. She keeps me out of procurement jail.
Which is a really big job. Good morning, Chairwoman, Councilman Garcia. So the process for the unsolicited development proposals. When we receive one, staff does do the review to verify that the proposal is responsive. Is it for city-owned property? Did they give us the review fee? So we review that, and then we do our due diligence. So in this case, the Neighborhood Services Department, we reviewed what are the stipulations attached to that land when we bought it. Were there any requirements? We do the appraisal. We identify the, the plans that are applicable to that site. So the TOD plan or the general plan, what are the things the city has said they want for that site? And then they also come and get your direction. So in this case, the recommendation has been to not compete it. If the recommendation were to compete it and the full council concurred, we would then post the proposal along with any proposer instructions so that it would be very similar to an RFP. And then all potential competitors could submit a proposal. So this organization might submit a revised proposal based on the appraisal, based on the instructions that we would give, but we might also get proposals from other companies for other uses for the same parcel. At that point, there would be some differences. We'd go through an evaluation panel process. We would go out to the community, share with them the recommendation from the panel. There might be tweaks to the proposal at that point based on the community input. And then again, we'd come back to you for your recommendation to the full council on that recommendation.
And Madam Chair, Councilman Garcia, to your question, the person that submits originally for the property and they're submitting, we'll use this one as an exact, as a parking lot, and that's what they're submitting for. But as they move through the process, they change their mind a little bit and think, you know, gosh, I think what would be better is if we had a parking lot and a coffee shop and a children's playground. I'm making this up. They certainly could change their submittal as part of the submittal process that comes in with as we compete that project. So they're not bound in to that exact thing they submitted. They certainly can modify their submittal through what they hear in the community.
But they would also run the risk that another proposal will come in and the lot turns into something completely different. Right?
You are correct.
Okay. Yes.
So if we did decide, okay, we wanna do a lease, and then we start getting all these different proposals, and let's say, you know, because I don't live that far, right, from where this property is at, and I see the need of, like, you know, being able to do more stuff for the community, right? Like places. I think you and I have talked a lot about the different needs for that side of town, and if we go into the lease, then would we be then allowed to break the lease? Or does that mean that we have to abide by the lease and not being able to sell the land or bring in a different RFP or other proposals until the lease is done?
Madam Chair, Councilwoman Guardado, as we look at that, that would be, Spencer Self recommended that we do an annual lease. So should we start to see interest in that property, and you know, the community brings things forward and we see that development continue to happen, to your point, in creating that sense of place for the community, the city process to dispose of its own property would take that full year. So we could notice the tenant at the beginning of that year that, gosh, a year from now, we're gonna have a development ready to come forward through our planning and development process, through a city council RFP, through that type of thing. So then we could go to a year, and if we still weren't done, we could go to month. So the property stayed occupied. But to your point, we wouldn't be hindered should we see some type of a good development come forward in the future that was interested in a community activation program that would really activate and enhance that site. We would make certain that the lease that we work on with neighborhood services would not bind the city should something happen. It would give us, the out that we would have would be that on that year basis.
And we would want to be transparent in that fact with whoever we entered into that arrangement with, that we are not sure about the future use of the property, which is the intent of a year-to-year lease.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, please make a motion.
I'm going to move staff's recommendation and ask them to negotiate to see if there's interest in a lease and to make sure that it's a year to year and that they have the responsibility to maintain it and talk about lighting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 None opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. So we also have call to the public again, and we have no new cards. So future agenda items, I think I heard one that we probably should hear, the update on Choya Trail. Are there any others?
Actually, I wasn't on the Parks Committee, and I really don't know what they're doing. And so I'd like to have a list of projects that they're working on and kind of tell us, you know, where, what, how much, and when they should be completed.
Okay, we'll broaden that then. That's actually probably a pretty good idea because North Mountain has had the project from HELL. Tony and I laugh because we drive over 7th Street all the time, and it's been under construction now for 18 months. So it's probably a good time to get updated on all of our trails and projects and parks. Any other? Okay, with that, we adjourn. Thank you.
You just don't fool around, do you?
Yeah, no.